Hello, welcome to another edition of Data in the Hallway. My name is Ray Paik, Community Manager at PingCAP, joined by my colleague Daniel Van Eden, beaming in from Europe. So, how are you, Daniel?
Hello.
Cool. So we're happy to have our colleague Ben Meadowcroft today. He leads our TiDB Core product team, and we want to talk about our latest stable release. I think the versioning is 8.5, but we will have Ben talk about how we do releases. But we've been doing stable releases a couple of times a year. And we thought it'd be a good time to talk about what we've done this year and what we can sort of expect going forward. So, welcome, Ben. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good, good. So, yeah, so I sort of like I mentioned this, like for people that are not familiar, that haven't followed us for a long time, like how do we typically do releases? Because I know, like I said, we do stable releases, but if you could talk in general about what kind of releases we have and sort of frequency and how we go about doing them, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do really, I would say, kind of like three types of releases. We have what's called our LTS releases. These are the long-term stable releases that we will release like one or two times a year. And this is really kind of where we put our tried and trusted capabilities, make them available, and customers can adopt that and be on that for a longer support period. So that's kind of the primary one. We also do DMR releases. These are the essentially like the milestone releases that we have. And so the milestone releases are really there to enable people to get access, these development milestone releases, to get access to new features. As, we make them available in preview, in a kind of an experimental capability for customers, and really to give access to the community, let them see what we're working on, let them try it out within their testing environments, get familiar with it, provide feedback on it, and help us to improve those newer features. And then the third thing is obviously the patch releases. These are patches that are provided on top of the long-term support releases. And this is during the support lifecycle of the LTS, we'll produce multiple patches, and this will fix bugs and make other minor changes to those LTS versions.
Cool, cool. Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I think for people who follow different like a software communities, I don't think this is anything like really out of the ordinary, but I think it sort of makes sense to talk about uh you know like you said, three different releases you have and why we do them. So, I mean, this is also a very broad question. I mean, our product team's been growing over the past year or so, which is great. But this is sort of more of a question about the art. Like, how do you go about doing like roadmap planning? Because you're getting input from a lot of people, our customers, our community members, and even internally, you have discussions with like senior executives, engineers, and what's sort of the art that you if you can describe it, like how do you go about doing them? Like,
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think for any kind of software product where you have a roadmap that you're developing is always a series of decisions, a series of trade-offs that need to be made. There's a limited resource, of people who are able to really push the product forward, make those changes, implement things, and deliver that. And so, if you've got a limited resource, there needs to be some way of prioritizing that resource and the effort that people put in. And so, like as you say, we listen to multiple people to figure out, hey, what is going to be the most beneficial for the community, for our customers at large, and really help advance the product. And so I would say there's a few key categories of information that we pull in. The first one, of course, is what we're hearing from our customers, from the community, in terms of where are the problems, the gaps within the product that we need to address to really help solve their problems. Their operational challenges that they're facing, challenges with scale or availability, or functionality that they need to really be successful with TiDB. And so, being listening to that input as it comes in, I think is really important. And I kind of categorize it both in kind of qualitative input, actually talking directly with the community, talking directly with customers to hear straight from them exactly what the challenges are. And then also we supplement that with quantitative measures as well. We do surveys, we track metrics, adoption metrics, particularly on TiDB Cloud as well, to look at usage of different features and capabilities to see, where some of the demand is, where are some of the areas that we can make the most impact. So that's kind of a big part of the input. Then, of course, TiDB, as PingCAP employee, one of the things we want to do as well is also ensure that we're successful from a business perspective as well. That helps support the long-term sustainability of offering TiDB as an open source offering. And so, talking closely with the business, talking closely with senior executives, understanding also things like the strategic direction that we want to take, and putting everything through that lens as well. And so when you do that, when you look at the feature requests that come in, the feedback, the issues that we know customers are having, the support cases and things like that, that gives us a big bucket of things to work on that we prioritize and rank and figure out, hey, what's going to have the broadest reach, the biggest impact, and basically get the most leverage for the effort that we put in, so we can give the biggest improvement to our customers. And that then essentially gets prioritized, discussed obviously with the engineering teams as well. And of course, they have great ideas that we bring into the product also. Some new technology approaches, different things that we want, architectural changes and things like that we want to bring in to help solve those challenges. So yeah, like I think you used the term kind of art. I think it's definitely, there's definitely a bit of art and science to it. You have to have both of those. But it is a lot of trade-offs, that need to be made, and kind of working through those with all of the stakeholders to figure out, hey, what's going to, have the biggest impact.
No, cool. Yeah, I mean, thanks for, providing that background. I mean, worked in a lot of different communities, and typically, as a community manager, you sit in between the community and the product team. And I appreciate what a, tough balancing act that product managers have, because you don't, there's never a lack of like input or request. And then like everybody, you have limited resources. Sort of balancing that is a tough act, and appreciate the product team members for doing that. Yeah, so that's it's sort of a preamble, but let's talk about the latest stable release 8.5. Like I'll also put a link to our release notes, which is available on our docs page, that people can read. But give us some highlights of what people can expect in 8.5 and what you're most excited about.
Yeah, sure. So I think there's really three broad themes that we have going on within in 8.5. And I think 8.5, we're planning this as an LTS release. And so when I look at what's coming in 8.5, I compare it to 8.1, which was a previous LTS. And so there's a lot of new features that we put into preview, we made available in those intervening development milestone releases, like 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, that you'll see some of those coming to general availability in 8.5 and being made available there. Well, the three key categories that I mentioned really a focus, I would say, around scalability and reliability, ensuring that we're able to continue to push the boundaries on scale for our customers, but doing so in a way that continues to deliver reliability for them and for the critical workloads that they're putting onto TiDB. The first category. The second category that I'm really passionate about personally is operational efficiency. I think that TiDB, we've done a really great job in being able to scale to very large data sizes, operate well and perform well at large scale. But if you scale really well, but you can't operate that, you can't reliably use that system and have confidence in it and monitoring of it and so on, then I think it's almost wasted. You need that operational capability, the operational efficiencies as well, as that's been another big area. How we can make the life of the person operating the database easier and give them more capabilities and more power. And so that was the second core theme that we had for this release. And then the third theme is really about delivering new capabilities within the database. And we have a lot of new capabilities that we're delivering. I think one that I think has been top of mind for a lot of people has been some of the AI-driven innovation that we're delivering as part of TiDB. And things like vector search capabilities and so on to help bring those vector capabilities into the core database and help you treat it, have all the benefits of transactions and scalability and so on in a single product that you're operating rather than having to have multiple different products and kind of join them together in interesting ways.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, definitely very excited about the vector search. I mean, we obviously I mean, this was a feature that was like a publicly available, but only on serverless, like especially in the summer when we had the hackathon, and we got a lot of interesting use cases out of that. And during the hackathon, I got a lot of questions like, when will this be available on TiDB Core? And then we couldn't commit to a exact timeline, but what I said was like it'll be like pretty soon by the end of like 2024, and I think this was actually available in 8.4, like a last DMR release, and it's
Mhm.
obviously part of the LTS. So very very excited about that. So yeah, and then also be able to sort of uh, uh, delivered like in 2024 as we sort of promised. That's obviously been pretty exciting. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
you're absolutely correct. This is first made available in the self-managed offering in
Mhm.
8.4. So it's still in preview in that, but it is available. And yeah, I think exactly right. Like, it wasn't made available in the serverless offering initially. I think that's a model, we talked about the release model before. That's the self-managed kind of the open source offering that people have access to directly. What you'll see is we do have releases on the TiDB Cloud as well. That's a different release model that we have there. We push things out more frequently. And you'll see that, we'll often innovate on TiDB Cloud, TiDB Cloud Serverless, and in the management console there. And then that will make its way into the capabilities that we incubate there. Some of those will make their way into the self-managed offerings as well.
Cool. Go ahead, Daniel. Sorry, I think you're about to speak.
Um, so I think one thing to consider with vector search options is that there are other databases that have vector search, but our offering is completely open source. I think that's a quite unique one because that's not always the case with some of our competitors.
Yeah, absolutely. Apache 2 licensed as all of these TiDB capabilities are. Yeah, so it's available in open source. One of the things I really like about it as well, when you have multiple systems and you have to synchronize data from one to the other, or kind of link across different databases, that also always includes some kind of additional configuration or management overhead. I think having this built directly into TiDB as well, I think just makes it much easier to use and integrate with the rest of the data that you have within TiDB. So from a developer experience, from an operational experience, I think it has clear benefits as well. And then of course, Apache 2 licensed as part of TiDB.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously we're like very excited, and you can't talk about anything these days without talking about AI. So this is, I think this will obviously grab a lot of people's attention. But I mean, looking at like some of the other like two other buckets that you mentioned, like I mean, things like scalability. I mean, are there some examples of, because when I hear scalability, I think about things like faster performance or better performance. But are there like a specific instances where that you can share where people will experience better scalability and reliability?
Yeah, absolutely.
That
So I think scalability, has been a real focus for us. So there's a lot of, I would say, a lot of discrete features and capabilities under that bucket that add up here. Yeah, just to think of a few examples, one key principle of being able to get better performance and scale is to move operations closer to the data. So one of the improvements that you'll see, we have multiple improvements of pushing down operations closer to the data and pushing down to the TiKV layer. So as you know, we kind of have we have the TiDB SQL layer and we have TiKV that kind of underlying that as the storage layer. And the more functions and capabilities we can push close to the TiKV layer, the less data we're having to move across between layers, the more efficient we can be and more scalable we can be. So if you look at the detailed release notes, you'll see that we're pushing down a lot of things like JSON functions and date functions down to the TiKV layer. So we get a lot of improvements or benefits from being able to kind of push those down. Other improvements in 8.2, we introduced support for parallel sorting. Um, and so when you had very large amounts of data, previously this was being the sorts were executed sequentially. Starting from 8.2, it can support parallel sorting, which can improve that performance. And so, yeah, that's a great improvement. One of the ones that I'm really excited for that we've made generally available as well is global indexing for partition tables. So for customers who are using partitioning with TiDB, we now have the ability to have a global index that spans those partitions. So where your query or any queries that are kind of spanning those partitions, can take advantage of those global indexes for much better performance. So this is something we made available in preview in I think 8.3, and is generally available now. And yeah, so the push downs, improved indexing, parallel sorting, and I would say as well, one of the other things when you think about database performance is really how the query plans and so on are formed, and the input to that is the statistics that we have around the data in the tables, and so there's a lot of improvements to how we collect statistics, some optimizations there, and I think that the ability to gather better statistics more quickly helps you to deliver better plans for your query execution. So yeah, I mean, I can go on and on. There's like more. If you have anything that's querying system tables, we did a lot of performance improvements in that. And big ones. We have some very large SaaS customers that were creating very large amounts of databases and tables. And so, if you think of like creating thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even like a million tables, which is what we went up to in our benchmarking, that kind of the create table performance, create database performance, things like that are all, multiple times faster than the previous releases. And so those kind of capabilities that we have around scalability, around performance, and so on have all been based on the feedback from our customers. We've been really pushing the envelope on those.
Yeah, one of the things I like about all the performance updates is that for most of these, the customers just have to upgrade. They don't have to change their application, change anything, and they just get better performance. So I think that works really well. And I think for global indexes, it improves performance, but I also think it improves usability because it allows a few things that were not possible before. So that's not just a performance improvement, but also a usability improvement, which is a great combination.
Yeah, exactly. I know there were some restrictions on some of the keys that were I think the unique keys had to contain partition keys and things like that in the past, and we've kind of been a lot more flexible there. But I think, Daniel, that's a great point. a lot of the capabilities that we have, and a big focus has been, really making it easy to get the benefit of these features. Where it's really a lot of them is just, you upgrade and you get the benefit. There's no kind of nerd knobs to kind of twiddle for many of these features and stuff like that. Now, there's still a lot of control that we give to operators for sure, but we wanted to make it really easy and kind of make it the default easy path to get the benefit of a lot of these improvements. So thank you for highlighting that. It's a great point.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. And then, yeah, thanks, Ben, for providing details on scalability and reliability. I mean, obviously, people can read more about this on the release notes, but I think those like a context really help. And I mean, last but not least, you know, I think the second bucket you mentioned was operational efficiency. What are some examples of how we're making for our users like things more efficient as they're using TiDB?
Hmm. Yeah, so I think there's a few different things that we've been adding here. Always more to do. So I think to the question you were asking about how we improve our roadmap, one of the things is hearing from the community. So if there's things that people want to see us improve here, we're more than happy to take that on board. And GitHub is a great way to communicate that to us. Raising up some issues there and providing some feedback. In terms of the operational side of things and how we've improved things there, I'd say probably a couple of important changes. I think I'll kind of put them in like the kind of sub buckets of observability, and then another sub bucket of probably around data migration, data replication, and kind of operations on more of a backup and restore disaster recovery perspective. In things like observability and control, I think the improvements we've made around resource control and resource management have been quite important. I think that's always been a very powerful capability, but we've added more, more capabilities in that area. So, for example, with resource control, better able to manage runaway tasks and things like that is one. Giving more control over assigning kind of runaway queries to specific resource groups and giving more control there. On observability, I think really giving more insight to the customer. Things like recording, things like why an execution plan hasn't been cached. So adding some new information to things like the statement summary table, which I think could be very helpful for customers. Adding metrics about the resource unit settings and things like that. And so really just giving a little bit more control, a little bit more insight into the operational side of things. On more of the data protection, data disaster recovery side of things, which for me is an important part of operating a system. One of the things, I'll give you this is one of my favorite features. It's honestly a little bit niche, but I think the improvements we've made to TiCDC sync points and synchronizing those across multiple change feeds is probably a great example of one of those features that's quite small when you just kind of look at what it's doing, but it actually has quite a significant impact for customers who need it. So just to explain it very quickly, if you have TiCDC, the change data capture, we can use TiCDC to replicate between TiDB instances for disaster recovery purposes. And TiCDC includes a sync point feature that ensures that on a periodic basis, it will ensure that we have we're snapshot level consistent between two instances of TiDB for those change feeds. And so what that's great between two databases. You can always say, hey, is this database consistent with this one? And say, yep, these two timestamps, they're snapshot consistent between the two. Great. Now, when you bring in another data center, another TiDB cluster, and you have like multiple replication channels, maybe like a DR strategy where you're going to a nearby geographic region and then one that's maybe a little bit further away. One of the challenges that our customers were having was, hey, those sync points were independent on the two replication change feeds. And the problem with that was if we would fail over from one site to another and then want to establish replication from one site to the other site, to the origin, they both were able to say, hey, at certain timestamps they were consistent, but from across the other, the two recovery locations, they weren't able to really align themselves on a consistent point in time. And so with the sync point consistency across change feeds, we're now able to make those much more easily lined up. They now are aligned by default. So as Daniel was saying, hey, to get the benefit of this, is there anything that the customer needs to do? Actually, it's just an upgrade. And then when you create new TiCDC change feeds from that point with the same synchronization period, they will be automatically aligned. And so you'll get that multi-site alignment. So I know I kind of rat holed on that one a little bit, but TiCDC has kind of historically been kind of one of the areas I've really focused on. But yeah, a really great improvement for customers that are running multi-site topologies with TiCDC to do the replication. But things like bidirectional replication of DDL statements with TiCDC as well, to make it much more easy to have these multi-site deployments and manage not just synchronization of data, but also DDL in multiple directions. I think that's or across the cluster has been really important. And then backup and recovery, we've just done a lot of performance improvements there as well. In fact, if you look at the performance of the backups and restores, looking at 8.1 onwards, we consistently been focused on delivering much more aggressive recovery point and recovery time objectives for our customers with these solutions.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate the summary. I mean, maybe it's just me, especially in database space. I think like operational efficiency aspect gets somewhat shadowed by like a performance and scalability sometimes. But I think it's almost like a quality of life issue for database users, right? So I think these are very important. That I think this is not just an area that we should focus on, but we should talk about a little more, because it does improve like a quality of life for a lot of our users and customers. So cool. And then Ben, you also mentioned like people providing feedback on features through GitHub. I mean, the other thing I want to remind people is that we also have a roadmap that's public on our docs page. I'll add a link to that as well, and you can take a look at. This sort of leads into the next question that I'm about to ask you, Ben. But if you have any feedback on those, you can open issues there from the docs page to ask questions. So I'll add a link there so people can look at what we're planning to work on going forward. And in terms of contribution, I mean, this is somewhat self-serving. Like for the first time, we're going to write a blog post to list like a community contribution we received from the last stable release. So we have a list of PRs for not just for TiDB, but TiKV, PD, and other like projects we have where, and Daniel, I appreciate your help on that too. Like enjoy collaborating with you on that. But I think it was important to sort of recognize like a lot of our users that are contributing to TiDB in general. So I'll include a link to that as well, which should go out shortly after our release notes. So the next question I was going to ask was like sort of going forward for future releases, like what are some of the areas that you and the rest of our PingCAP team will be focused on?
Yeah, so I think honestly, if you look at the improvements that we've made over the last several releases, kind of how we've been, the direction we've been taken, I think kind of our strategy, is really remains kind of what it has been. We're focused on, those improvements to reliability and availability, scalability, performance, operations observability. They're all key capabilities that we continue to invest in. And we'll continue to. I would say as well, obviously, things like security and stuff like that is always, of interest to us. But yeah, the roadmap that we have is publicly available. I think the docs will be updated. With the 8.5 release, we'll publish an update to the roadmap as well, and so you'll be able to look and see what's coming a little bit further out. But yeah, don't be surprised if those categorizations that we have the features in are similar. It's the focus that we have and really where we're putting our investments moving forward. But yeah, I think in terms of what you were saying earlier about the community contributions, definitely welcome those. I talked earlier about the trade-offs that we make as product managers, and that's really about trading off the benefit against the cost to implement a feature and assigning the engineering work to that. Of course, if people really need a feature and they're willing to contribute that, then that component of the calculation becomes a lot easier. So we're happy to really see what the community is looking for and welcome contributions on that side as well. We really just want to ensure that this is going to be a really great product for all of our users.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more exciting than basically, I mean, you're, doing a co-R&D with the community members, and one of the things, I mean, I've heard it from other like engineers and product managers too, like it's not just like the code that they're providing, like by contributing like a PR, for example, we get a better understanding of their use case or how they want to use our product, and that insight is very valuable, I think, sometimes more than code. So. Yeah, yeah. So definitely want to encourage people to engage with this and contribute to TiDB. Um, yeah, I think those are. I think I covered all the questions I had. Like, I mean, Daniel, I don't know if you have any other questions about the release that you want to ask, but
No, nothing from my side.
all right, cool. So I guess that sort of leads us to our last question, which has been our tradition, our closing trivia with all of our guests. So Ben, you live in the Sacramento, California area in a town called Lincoln. I've been to Sacramento area a number of times, but I don't think I've ventured like far up north to, I mean, it's not that far from Sacramento, about Lincoln, but do you want to tell us about where you live and something you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I've lived in Lincoln for a few years now, about 4.5 years, 4+ years. Really like it. It definitely gets a lot hotter than the Bay Area, which is where I was previously, and hotter than England, which is where I'm from originally. So definitely the heat gets up there. I think we were, gosh, I can't remember this year. It was like 115, 116 degrees. So, yeah, you definitely want to be conscious of the sun. Yeah, what's Lincoln known for? It's a pretty small town, but it has a famous for its pottery. There's some pottery that was made here. I think my favorite thing about living in the Sacramento area, though, yeah, I'm a big soccer fan. I'm from Manchester in England originally, and I was kind of worried that I wouldn't get into too many American sports, but I found that Sacramento has a pretty good soccer team, Sacramento Republic. So, me and my family, especially my son, we go and see quite a few games of theirs each season. So, great atmosphere. They're building a new stadium that they announced just recently, so I'm super excited for that as well. And yeah, it's been pretty fun to see the sport here as well. So that's cool.
Cool. Yeah, as a fellow soccer fan, I mean, I live only 2 hours away from you, Ben. So I mean, it's just sort of a local derby. I mean, been a long time. I had been a long time season ticket holder to San Jose Earthquakes, and we would typically have cup games, right, between Sacramento Republic and San Jose Earthquakes, and even at home, like you'll have a bunch of Sacramento fans show up, right, and with the rowdy supporters and having a away supporter section sort of decked in Sacramento Republic colors and being rowdy, it makes the game really exciting. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We had
Yeah,
San Jose come up to visit us in May this year, I think I think it was round of 16 for the US Open Cup.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, San Jose, they brought a really good support with them, so it was good to see.
Right.
It was even
Yeah.
better to be 4-3, so that was
Nice. Yeah. I mean, your friends are great, and then yeah, I mean they'll have like a bus trip because it's only a 2 hour trip. So the away fans pack the buses, and yeah, the local derbies are great. And congratulations on your new stadium. Looking forward to that too. So great. Well, thanks for your time, Ben. And yeah, we'll probably, if you don't mind, we'd love to have you to talk about our future releases. And I think a lot of our community members and listeners will be interested in how we move forward with TiDB. So appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Really
All right,
appreciate it.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.